The Justice League heads to Costa Rica to find that Batman and Blue Beetle are embroiled in a different kind of alien invasion than anyone suspected. Meanwhile, Martian Manhunter admits a very painful secret. It's all right here in our review of Justice League Unlimited number 2 from DC Comics. See you in 3. Welcome back to Comical Opinions. Before we dig into the review, how about a brief recap? When last we left the expanded cast of superheroes in Justice League Unlimited number 1, an away team saved a group of civilians during a catastrophe. Meanwhile, Batman and Blue Beetle uncovered a nest of alien eggs in Costa Rica. The issue ended with one of the newest JLU members, Airwave, struggling with his new role as a saboteur who is tasked with killing everyone on the Watchtower. And that brings us to the current issue. In Justice League Unlimited number 2, the second team of Leaguers arrives in Costa Rica to aid Batman and Blue Beetle with their discovery of an alien egg farm. What types of aliens are we dealing with here? Parademons. Lots and lots of parademons. Superman arrives via boom tube with Star Sapphire, Wonder Woman, Mary Marvel, Dr. Occult, Martian Manhunter, and Black Lightning. As soon as they step out, the scene is engulfed in assorted sizes of parademons, from tiny little fairy types to big boys. A battered Batman emerges from the jungle to direct the team to split up where their strengths are needed most. Wonder Woman and Mary Marvel head back into the jungle to isolate the alien egg farm. Superman, Batman, Black Lightning, and Star Sapphire remain to fight the parademons, and then Dr. Occult and Martian Manhunter depart to find the kidnapped children who we learned about in the previous issue. While all that's going on, in brief asides, we learned that the Atoms have figured out how to restore power sets to their original heroes, although it is painful and a little bit unstable. Meanwhile, Stargirl and Mr. Terrific continue their search into the mysterious Inferno group who made their deadly debut in the last issue. Their search, however, comes up pretty empty. Back in Costa Rica, the split teams make progress while learning more about each other and their current predicaments. Wonder Woman and Mary Marvel decide to rip out a plot of soil underneath the egg farm to fly the whole lot into space. During their task, Mary learns that the Greek and Roman pantheons do and don't have a lot in common. Elsewhere, Dr. Occult and Martian Manhunter find the source of Costa Rica's troubles is the first sentient parademon sent to Earth years ago by Darkseid to watch over the egg nest as a backup. Time on Earth has made the sentient parademon sort of desperate and eager to get back home, so it developed a plan to kidnap children as an offering for Darkseid in the hopes that the offering will be enough to let it come home. The issue ends with Martian Manhunter taking out his frustrations on the sentient parademon, and through the dialogue and the fight, Dr. Occult deduces Martian Manhunter was affected by the absolute power switching in ways he hasn't admitted to anyone else. Before we continue to the critiquing part of the review, do you want to be part of our growing community and get exclusive perks? Become a channel member today. By becoming a member, you'll support a channel you love, but also gain access to special badges, emojis, and members-only content. Click the join button below to become a part of our family and help us create more of the content you enjoy. Now let's get back to the review. Alright, let's dig into the critiques before we talk about the score. First impressions. Justice League International number 2 is a super quick read that gets the job done, hinting at possibly interesting things happening behind the scenes. But the big surprises from issue number 1 get surprisingly little attention here. Writer Mark Waid hits readers with a gut punch at the end of the last issue, but chooses not to build on it, opting instead for a fairly standard action fest. There's nothing wrong with an action fest, but if you're going to drop a grenade at the end of the last issue, it would be helpful to follow up on it. Let's switch gears for a second and talk about the art. It almost goes without saying that Dan Mora is one of the best artists on DC's roster. Superman, Batman, and all the members of the JLU look their absolute best, and the Atoms get a little bit of a costume upgrade which looks pretty snappy. That said, there are a few scenes toward the latter half when Martian Manhunter and Dr. Occult work their way through a dark cave that looks a bit sketchy. I hesitate to say the word rushed, but it almost gets that far. It's not bad by any stretch, and definitely not bad by some other stuff we've seen at DC, but still there's a little something that looks off there in the last act. Alright, that brings us to the positives and negatives, starting with what's great about Justice League Unlimited number 2. Mark Waid's central concept about a sentient parademon who takes matters into its own hands to find a way back to Apocalypse is just the kind of adventure Justice League Unlimited was made for. Every hero has a moment to shine, and the sentient parademon's realization that Darkseid is dead adds an element of tragedy to give the issue emotional weight. In other words, the story in isolation is pretty darn good. So that leads us to what's not great about Justice League Unlimited number 2. The issue reads like an episode of the acclaimed cartoon in comic form, but what's missing is the connection to an overarching narration. As noted above, the big gut punch that Airwave has a secret mission to kill the JLU does not make any progress or provide clarity. Is Airwave's mission connected to this mysterious Inferno group? Why did the Inferno group choose to attack in the previous issue? What does Inferno want? If Airwave isn't connected to Inferno, what's the reasoning behind his mission? There's nothing wrong with having an episodic series that inserts little nuggets to maintain the connective tissue with a larger arc, but we need nuggets that are bigger than grains of sand. File this one under a good one-off issue, but a poor follow-up issue. So final thoughts, what do we think about Justice League Unlimited number 2? It delivers a tragic tale about an alien who makes the wrong choices at the very wrong time. Mark Waid's script reads just like a classic JLU cartoon episode, complete with heavy action and emotional weight, and Dan Mora's art is top-notch. That said, Waid doesn't capitalize on the wow moments from the first issue, so the reading continuity is lacking. Therefore, Justice League Unlimited number 2 earns a 7.8 out of 10. You know, this is a pretty solid issue by any measure against pretty much everything that DC's been putting out this year, but it could use a little bit more juice in the oomph department, if you know what I mean. But what do you think? Are you enjoying what Mark Waid is crafting here by homaging and building and capitalizing on the original Justice League Unlimited cartoon in the same sort of tone and vibe? Or do you think there's a better way to do it? Leave a thumbs up if you found this review helpful and drop a comment below with which Justice League member of the extended group you would like to see highlighted more frequently in this series. Also, remember to click on the link in the description to read the written review, check out the variant covers and preview pages, and buy this comic to help support the channel. Your support, of course, is greatly appreciated, so thank you very much for joining. Stay tuned through the outro for more reviews just like this one.